you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Our podcast is about your journey in music. And of course, we're going to talk about this dope app that you've created, ShowX. I love it. I've been checking it out. So yeah, so that's what the podcast is about. We'll start off by just talking about kind of where you grew up and how you got into music.
Yeah, you bet. I grew up in Syracuse, New York,
Okay.
and yeah, man, I got into music. Like all of us, the music in my house was uh, old folk music, Irish American, Tommy Makem, Clancy Brothers, John Prine,
Oh, cool.
Arlo Woody, Guthrie. And
Hmm.
looking back, that's really how I got into story songs, which has been a big focus of mine the last couple years.
Hmm.
But yeah, that set forth my journey. And then I have a sister who's just a year older, but when you're a kid, that makes a real difference,
Sure.
you know. And so I inherited a lot of her tapes and then CDs and all that.
Hmm.
So that got me to the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, and that's really the electric guitar. And it
Hmm.
was, I wanted to play the Blue Skies solo, and I wanted to play like Jerry. And
Oh, shit.
my neighbor Nikki across the street gave me a guitar lesson. And I was off, but the real big bang for me that really kind of created me into a musician was I had really made the commitment to practice every day, at
Hmm.
13. And 2 weeks before Jerry died. And then Jerry dies, and man, it was like, well, I got to do this now,
Right.
yeah, and really ever since, that it just kind of became a massive part of who I am.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's right.
Wow. So you said your sister would give you tapes and CDs. Did she play also, or is it just you that was interested in actually, picking up guitar?
Yeah, she didn't get farther than Ode to Joy,
Oh,
or,
okay.
or Yellow Submarine on.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a subscription tape and CD service called BMG.
Oh
And,
yeah, I had
you
that.
remember
It's like
that?
buy one get like 30 for a penny
That's
or
right.
something
Yeah.
like that.
And,
Yeah.
and they also had, if you get somebody else to subscribe, you get 3 free records, right?
Oh yeah.
So of
Okay.
course she got her knucklehead little brother who
Brother.
doesn't have a job, to subscribe so she could get the 3 CDs. And then, I was, of course I got jammed with that, but I got a lot of great music because of it too.
Yeah,
Right.
I had this. It's funny. I totally even like really forgot about those days because
Right.
we had the subscription at our house and I didn't think about that. And I was wondering, like, I had a subscription as a kid, and it was probably because my dad wanted the 3 free
That's right.
CDs.
Yeah, right. 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 It goes to show what an incredible journey the recorded music industry delivering to consumers has gone through in just, since we've been, rolling through it.
I know it is absolutely wild. Yeah, it's funny thinking about that because now I can remember like going through the catalog and
Yep.
trying to find what records I wanted to get because you got like a certain amount each month. So my dad and I would kind of split them, or we'd find them. I don't know, like a Jane's Addiction record that we'd both would listen to, or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to compromise, you know?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's just wild. I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yep.
Well, so tell me about how did your musical journey kind of transfer, and then what was like this app that you've created, ShowX? How did it start? Like, tell me about the whole kind of creation behind this. Was this something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Sure. So, man, I've had kind of all roads in my life have led into the creation of this application.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up I ended up into the music business when I had hand surgery, and it was sort of a circuitous
Hmm.
route. I'd moved to New York from Key West in 2006, and I had and I had to I was playing these 3 4 hour gigs, and I wouldn't be able to close my hand from an old injury in the morning. And so I finally got something done about it, but then I had to, get a job, and SOB's, a legendary music venue in New York, hired me just, help market their shows.
Mm-hmm.
And, what was kind of amazing in that process was Larry Gold, the owner, he trained me as a booker to help out because he wanted to get into more rock and roll. And a great promoter in New York brought over Phil Lesh and Friends.
Mm-hmm.
And what was so outrageous about that, man, I was maybe 2 months into that job, and then I'm at sound check with Phil Lesh, and I get to meet him from the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? And then there would be others, and I was just like, I mean, I love playing Bleecker Street, and that's always a part of me, but I'm like, there's something to this job,
Mm-hmm.
and so that that really started this journey in the music industry, putting on concerts, and from there, I put on thousands of concerts. I worked with most of my heroes. I had a really, wonderful and tough journey that, and I ran parallel, and I played in bands, and I had my band Old Soul for a decade.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then and even now I've turned into more of a folk storyteller and a pedal steel player is sort of the main things that I focus on.
Yeah, I saw some of your videos on your Instagram. The
Oh,
like
cool. All
slide
right.
guitar and
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. It's really like brain push-ups, but it's been a great journey for me. And so I've kept these sort of two roads running, I guess, on the business side and the music side. The reason that all really leads to the creation of ShowX is because I had insights on the business side of the music industry that I've just continuously been so surprised that musician friends who are so far along in their career are just not understanding about the realities of the business. And likewise, there are a lot of sensitivities to the journey of the artist that a lot of people on the business side, just didn't seem to get, because they have to look out for the bottom line of the venues and whatnot. And so, I guess I developed a sort of sensibility of where the line is and where the common ground is for both parties. And so that that led me into this concept, and it really started. I was working on an album that is an album of all story songs. I'm crazy about them, and I was like, man, this is something I'd really like to take out and tour and play cities I never played before, and I think I could find like the audiences for this type of music. And I was thinking about it, and I'd reach out to bookers at these venues who are in places I never played. And of course, I don't have a performance history. I've been through this with many artists myself on the other side. Sure. And so they'll offer me Sunday at 11 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
it's a random, terrible time.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go to Birmingham to play Sunday at 11 o'clock for the first time. Of course not. So I just had to take a step back. I was like, wait a second. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. There's got to be another way that I can skin this. And I remembered a conversation I had with Pete Seeger, and it was one of the high water marks of my career. And I got to talk to him for about 90 minutes before he did a show we put on in November of 2013. It was one of his last shows. And man, he told me all of these incredibly special things about the 2 times he met Martin Luther King, about how funny Woody Guthrie was. I asked him, like, what's something you wouldn't know from like Bound for Glory? And he's like,
right.
He was just couldn't have a conversation without just jokes throughout it, and it was just so precious. But the one thing that just was the light bulb moment was when he said that he thought his biggest contribution wasn't the songs that he had written, but that he made a generation realize that they didn't have to play in venues to perform. And I thought back on that, and we now in 2020, think about like, well, yeah, but there was a time like playing in a coffee shop was novel, or on a college campus quad, or in a subway, and Pete was really, part of that. And so I sat there and I was like, well, look, if I go play Birmingham for the first time, what am I going to sell? 5, 10 tickets, 15 tickets?
Yeah.
I don't need a venue for that. I'll go play in a park. And you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'll keep
drive to Birmingham when you can just play out in your, that makes sense.
You got to start somewhere anyways, right? So I was like, I'll keep all of the money. This is sounding like a better deal, and I'll do it exactly on the date at the time that I want to, which is one of the biggest headaches of touring, is just, you got to make all the pieces work on other people's schedules,
Right.
and then they bump you, right?
Totally. Yeah. And then after all that, they're gonna switch it up on you.
Yeah, and they will, so anyways, that became, so I got to this moment, and I said, all right, well, look, then the one thing I really just need is help, promotional help. And I said, well, and as I started to think down that, I had this moment where I realized all of the main ways to get out there in a new market are literally outside of your control. You don't control whether you get press. You don't control whether you get radio play. You don't control whether you get on a podcast. You don't control whether you have a viral video. You don't control whether you get the opening slot for that band. And when I had this moment, I was like, geez, like, what is my option? Paid social media advertising. I hate it when I see sponsored band ads. That
And
does
it's
not
like,
make
no, and that the whole thing with the sponsored ads too, I guess, is like, yeah, it was funny. I was talking to this band called State Champs, and they had like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and they're like, it's interesting that I could post something and like 40 people will see it, and we apparently have like 200,000 fans on there or whatever. Right. So it's very interesting how that they've made it very difficult to kind of break into their algorithm because they want you to spend money now.
I know. Well, so now artists who are, by the way, all collectively as a whole, from the top down to the bottom, like screwed,
struggling right now. Right? Yeah, right.
By the way, it's like we have to collectively find a better way. Mm-hmm. And so I just said it to myself, look, I've been in New York for a long time, been in Nashville for a while. I have a meaningful audience in each city. There has to be some kids in Birmingham or Pittsburgh who would be willing to help me out and give me some love, who are in the Americana, blues, folk, rock, country, all of that vein. Mm-hmm. And I can lift them up in Nashville, and I can lift them up when they come to New York. There has to be that. And I know there's all these sub channels for that. And there's ways that people have skinned that, but I wanted to find a way to create an easy, intuitive platform that any musician could do that and quickly accomplish some of these simple goals. Mm-hmm. And here we are with ShowX.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'll talk to bands and about their early tours. I mean, in the earlier social media days, or they'll find a band on social media and they'll kind of like collaborate that way, or it's like they'll come play their city at Brooklyn, and then when they leave to go to Pittsburgh, they have a show there, they kind of trade off. But this seems like a much more like where to go, and kind of it's the same thing but a very condensed version of it. I kind of feel like,
yeah, condensed version is a good way to put it, because there are ways that musicians who, especially the musicians that really hustle, are skinning mm-hmm. this problem, right. But when you make a platform that is only musicians, and you say out there, hey, I'm coming to Birmingham for the first time. Mm-hmm. Can somebody recommend a good place to play for Americana storyteller type of dude? People are going to either tag other musicians who mm-hmm. are informed about that, or they're mm-hmm. going to comment themselves. Right. And what ends up happening, and part of the reason we kept it just to a tight musician community, is that you get that camaraderie and that chivalry among thieves within it. And we very much found that. And we've also found that people are using it in ways that we didn't even think of or intend, which has really been a wonderful outcome.
Could you give me an example of one of those things? I'm just curious.
So for instance, we did not think that, I guess Spotify pre-saves is such an important thing for musicians, right? Mm-hmm. And now people are just push this out, and it's just Everybody throws it out onto Instagram stories,
Oh, that's
and it's
cool.
like these group chats of co-promotional channels,
Mhm.
and you can add people, right? So if you want, if you're like, oh man, get me into that, I want to develop a better audience in Nashville, and
Right.
I'll add you to this chat, and you give love to these guys. Of course, it's got to be sincere. It's got to
Right.
be authentic. But as long as it is, isn't that wonderful? It cost you $0. Um,
Right.
I'll tell you one other really cool thing that's happened. There's a great band out of New York called Ikram and the Immigrant Groove, and they released a song called One Nation. And leading up to the election, they had a different musician sing the hook and do it in their style.
Mhm.
And every day they've posted this song, and they found a bunch of musicians to do it. And the styles are totally cool, because you could take one of your songs and just say, hey, musicians, I would love for you to cover it. And that way, they get to be musicians who they are,
Mhm.
create social content, and lift up your song. And there's not anybody for like 50 miles of Ikram and the Immigrant Groove that don't know the chorus to One Nation now, because
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Everyone's done it. Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And if,
That's cool.
look at, if you're a musician, you only need one song that people know the lyrics to.
Mhm. That's true.
People, I've been putting concerts on with people in their 80s, and they can barely even play a chord anymore, and people wait for that one song till they can sing along to it.
Mhm.
So that's a good hack, to pull it off that way. And I thought that was an incredibly inventive move of them, and a great way to create a community as well.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great app, especially for independent artists that may not have the, obviously not the backing of a label that can go do promotion in every city that they're going to go to. Like they know that they have this endless budget of promotion and pushing their tour or whatever. But this way you could say, hey, like you gave the example of Nashville. Like, oh, we haven't played in Nashville. Who knows anything about Americana music? And obviously that's a big town there, but you might find some guy that's like, oh, like where you live? Oh, you're from San Diego? Well, I'll hook you up here, and they might have a following, and then you're exposing, you're getting exposed to their audience. And maybe when they come to your city, they'll get to play with you. And then now they're getting exposed to your audience. And it's kind of like you're able to really build off of each other within the app, I feel like.
That's exactly right. And it's deep, but it's deeper than that too. So
Mhm.
for instance, every day we have ShowX news, and every day we send out all of the most relevant, up to date music industry news stories.
Mhm.
And so you can just pull that in one place. And we have Dear ShowX, where you can ask questions to the community, and the community answers. And then you can search in that database, and you can just type in agent, and you can find a question of like, how do I get an agent? And then you can read through the thread of all of the different musicians who have commented on that. And so it's really
Wow.
it's really hive mind. We have a lot of different ways where we're harnessing the power of networking and community of people who are, like you said, very dense in one particular industry, so that we can really serve that industry much better together.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
that's really cool. So like you can search questions or like, how do you get signed to a record deal or something? And then like you could go through and see maybe somebody has had experience with that, and then they'll write up a little piece, and then you can kind of build off of them.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all built very familiar, very intuitive. You're gonna get on it, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay, this I know how this works. You
Mhm.
go to people's handles, their profiles. You can see the mutual connections that you have, so that you can share each other's cards and profiles and messaging. So
Mhm.
you can I can say, hey, check out this band, and if you're interested in them, let me know and I'll intro you. So you can, you have that ability to uh, uh, to sort of work these relationships, but work them in a graceful way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And is there a way to like collaborate as far as writing songs or writing music on the app, or is it all kind of just mainly networking based and
No,
PR?
yeah, there is collaboration was. um, was something that was really important to us. And when the pandemic set in, we were really originally kind of creating this to serve the folks touring, and like the concept started out, and we've been retrofitting it for captive musicians like we all are,
Mm-hmm.
and we had this concept where you could we wanted to solve the problem that I know I feel of creating content. It's a pain in the neck to create great compelling content on a daily basis, but to do it in a way where you are also networking,
Mm-hmm.
expanding your network, and you can have that interplay even though we're all stuck within all of our four walls here. And so we have this wonderful mashup feature where I'm here in Nashville and I
Mm-hmm.
can just play a little riff on the bass, and up to a minute long, and I'll post it. Now you can be scrolling through and you can see, I dig that. Now where are you right now?
San Diego.
Okay, so you're in San Diego and you're like, oh, check this out. And you hit mashup, and now you can just throw a little guitar riff on top of that. And it's split screen,
Oh,
right? And it's got both our handles in there. And now you can download it, post it to social media, tag me, and then somebody else now over in let's say Birmingham, right?
yeah.
Let's say, yeah, right. There's a great blues harmonica player in Birmingham, right? And now they can add to that, and now they can throw some cool licks on that. They can download it. Now you get tagged in that thing that you totally forgot about last week, and you can do
Wow.
that up to 6 times. And it's this. We have had so much fun developing this feature, and the best part about it is it's making all of us on our team keep our chops up, because
Right.
yeah, totally. So it's one of those things, man. You can just sit there. I I really wanted to create a platform that the more time you spent on it, the more value you are creating for yourself and your career.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have spent so much time, like we all have, on so just wasting my life. And it just is what it is. But I did not want this to be one more thing like that. I want to scroll through, find cool things I want to play on them, post them to social media, tag people I don't know, and then have them repost it if I played well,
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's been so fun, and it's just it's a great way to stay connected over these next months. Keep
Mm-hmm.
playing and keep, so one day you might find yourself on tour a year or two from now, and you'd be like, oh, I know that guy. How do I know that guy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh,
he
yeah.
played on that funky little thing I did when we were all trapped.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool. Was this something that you had? I mean, it sounds like this was already a concept that you were going to run with no matter what. And
Mm,
then did like the whole lockdown and quarantine this kind of shaped it? You had to shape it a little bit differently. Was it already
totally.
going prior to
No, that
COVID?
no, that move was not on our roadmap. That move was not on our roadmap at all. But just like every just like every startup, you're you make it work. And I've approached this whole thing like, I told you my backstory here.
Hmm.
I did not want to be a tech founder. I didn't want to go into that. It's fine. It just wasn't something that I was drawn to, until I found a problem I wanted to solve.
Hmm.
And um, so I've approached every piece of this platform, every feature is just what I want to use. And what I want to do right now is play music with my friends. I want to do that more than anything. And
Hmm.
I mean, I'm spiritually depleted because I have a lack of it for the first time in a long time.
Hmm.
And so this came out of that. I just want to keep playing with everybody. So I'm really just solving problems that I feel, and and you know trying to help my brothers and sisters in music along the way. you
Hmm.
know
Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love the concept, and I think it's going to be, it's an amazing app, especially for musicians trying to collaborate and tour, and just especially now. I love the feature where you can write a piece, put it up, maybe tag somebody, and have them kind of add, and then create a song out of something that maybe you just had a part for, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. see what somebody else can jump on and figure out, or
Yeah,
you know.
sure. And I mean, one of the nice ways you can use it too is if you're writing with your, like, one of my close songwriting partners is in Australia, and I could put together a piece of a song and just share it with him privately. You know what I mean? And see, I know he's going to complain about my lyrics, or what, or whatever. No, but it gives you that ability.
I love it. And
Yeah.
thank you so much, Lincoln, for talking with me today and explaining the app. And I think it's going to be amazing
Oh, you bet. And
for
thank you very much
musicians when they.
thank you for having me on. That's
Yeah.
much appreciated.
I do have one more question for you before I let
Hmm.
you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'll answer it, I guess, both from the creative side and from the business side.
Love it.
From the creative side, I'm just crazy about story songs. I think that that's where our traditions are kept. I think that story songs are where ways part of what's so magical about music is you can capture these 3-4 minute epic tales, and if you tell them right in just a few minutes. And I would love to see more of that. And I think that no matter how young or old you are, or how boring or crazy you think your life is, there are stories everywhere. And I encourage you to, when you think about that, oh, I got to write a story about that guy that I walk by every day, write that story, tell that story song. And, on the business side, I've had plenty of ups and downs throughout my career. And the one thing that has always kept me solid is that I've had a very good network. And I think that whatever you do, now ShowX is one way to skin it, but whatever you do, develop a strong network so you have a good foundation, and nurture it and take care of the people in it. And that will serve you and that will give you your career, and that will sustain you for the length of your career. Bringing it backward.